let's go Bills-Rams. Rams get the wild win, 44-42 over the Bills. Bills fall to their third loss of the season. Where's my records?
Where's your graphic? Huh?
I was
just not.
I was very professionally speaking a little bit slower to give it time to pop up. Instead, we have a tweet.
Oh yeah, what do we got?
Entering today, teams with at least 6 touchdowns and 0 giveaways in a game. We're 245-0 in the Super Bowl era. That's way back to 67, including the playoffs. The Bills are the first team to lose with the 6 touchdowns and 0 giveaways. So it's now 245-1.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
I mean, that really, honestly, that encapsulates the game, right? Their offense cooked, and yet they lost because they simply could not stop the Rams for basically the entire game outside of one drive.
Yes. I mean, really, they couldn't. Look, I've been talking about Matthew Stafford when he's on a heater for 10 years now. Great Matthew Stafford. I mean, literally since the 2014 season, I remember a game against the Eagles in 2014 where it's like, dude, Stafford looks incredible. Like, when he's on, good luck. He was on yesterday. Puka Nakua was on. Cooper Kupp, the whole deal. Like, you couldn't stop those guys.
Yeah.
But Stafford was outstanding, and when elite Stafford shows up, good luck. And that was it. And the Rams offense was incredible. And it did feel, I mean, this is the worst the Bills defense has looked in a long time. I know they had a tough time stopping the Ravens earlier this year, but the Rams had answer after answer after answer for this Bills defense. And that Bills defense had little shot here.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams were incredible on offense. Stafford was fantastic. Puka Nakua was incredible. Cooper Kupp made some plays. Like, there are plays where you can't do anything about it, right? The ridiculous catch sort of over his head at the sideline, the Marvin Harrison toe tap sideline, Marvin Harrison Sr. toe tap sideline. I'm only saying that because there's a picture of it on the wall. Like the emblematic Marvin Harrison Sr. play that you think of in your head is him like leaning out in the end zone. The only thing in are 2 toes. The rest of his body is like out there and he's catching a Peyton Manning pass. There's one of those on the wall of the press box of Lucas Oil where we were there for the Big Ten championship game.
32-degree press box in
right.
Indianapolis.
Yeah, with like minus 8-degree water. But so you can't stop that play is what I'm saying, right? That play that Puka Nakua made at the sideline, you shrug your shoulders and go, like, fair play. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. There were a bunch of plays, though, where the Bills just were nowhere on defense. And it wasn't an insane Puka Nakua play. It wasn't an insane Matthew Stafford play. It was just like we just didn't have an answer to this play call. So it's Sean McVay carving us up as opposed to these incredible playmakers as well. But, yeah, like, you're looking at this, and, like, Josh Allen's playing great. Every time they need a play, he's coming up with it, and they're still not going to be able to win this game unless they figure out a way of getting a stop. And they got one. Every time, the Bills were scoring, the Rams were answering with a touchdown, sometimes 2 touchdowns before the Bills got another one. They finally got a score, then they got a 3 and out. And you're like, okay, finally, there's like a glimmer of light here. But you're still going to need another stop somewhere, and they just never got it.
I want to get into all of the late game management. Just to throw some stats out there, though. Stafford, who we were raving about, 23 of 30 for 320, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was over 10. He was 10.7 yards per attempt. Kyren Williams had 2 rushing touchdowns. Again, he was kind of held in check on a per carry basis, but big runs when they needed him. Puka has 12 catches for 162, including, if you remember way back, my scouting report was that he was a contortionist along the sideline. We saw all of that in this game. So Puka with a touchdown, Cooper Kupp with a touchdown as well. Allen finishes 22 of 37 for 342, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Some of those were gimmies. Ty Johnson on a long 41-yard touchdown early.
And 3 rushing touchdowns. I know we got some tush-push stuff and everything. So, yeah, Allen, 6 touchdowns total. And I thought, when we're talking MVP case and all that stuff, he did cool stuff in the snow against the 49ers, but This was like more MVP worthy. I can't remember a game where a guy has come out of it with a loss with such a clamor that his MVP case was just wildly enhanced.
This is Joe Burrow every week, minus the exact 6 touchdowns. Sure. But this is how Joe Burrow's played every week, like really good.
I've seen people.
Defense, make a stop, please.
I saw people making that point. Like a lot of these tweets were like, Josh Allen does this, this, and this, and it's not enough because because the defense couldn't stop. And everyone's like, yeah, this is welcome to my life.
Yes.
This has been Joe Burrow the entire season, and it's legit. I mean, that's kind of what Burrow's season has been. But I can't remember a game where a guy has lost, come up short at the end, and everyone's like, look, that's an MVP game. That's a statement MVP game.
And it wasn't just the defense. Blocked punt for a touchdown for the Rams. It was special teams letting the Bills down as well. So Rams get up 31-14 into the third quarter. Bills keep fighting back. And to the Rams' credit, every time the Bills scored, the Rams came back and scored, right? You're doing it from the Bills' perspective. They couldn't make a stop. Well, the Rams kept answering, right?
Except that one stop. The one stop that gave them life.
So it's 38-28. 38-21. Bills get the touchdown to get within 10. It's 38-28. Then the Bills score another touchdown to make it 38-35. But the Rams still come back. And here's the important part of the game. Rams are up 3, and they're driving. They would have had a 4th and 7. So let's discuss. There's a holding penalty, and there's right around 2 minutes left. So the Bills take the penalty to make it 3rd and long. And it would have been, 4th and 7, I believe?
Something like that, yeah.
So 4th and 7, fringe field goal range, and the same situation as last week. You're up 3 in a 2-minute situation, and do you want to kick a field goal to go up 6, or do you want to go for it and go for the touchdown? And I remember I was tweeting out, I was like, the Rams have to go for the touchdown. This should be 4-down territory for them. And they played it as such. The one decision, though, from Sean McDermott, and I don't know that it was necessarily wrong, you get it to 3rd and 19, and the Rams pick up 14 yards to make it 4th and 5, back in field goal range. Now, do you think McDermott should be taking the penalty there, or should have gone with the 4th and whatever it was?
I would have not taken the penalty. I would have taken the down, and because at that point, the Rams had like 475 yards or something in the game, right? Like, you're not stopping them generally. So I want as few a number of downs as possible to get them off the field, right? I don't want to give them an extra shot at picking up yardage because they're picking up yardage every play. Like, I'm struggling to contain this offense. So the fewer plays I give the offense, the better. I will take one attempt to try and stop them versus 2. Now, what's interesting is, I don't know, like, if you're Sean McDermott making that decision, do I take the penalty, put them at 3rd and 19, or take the down and get to 4th and 7 or whatever it was? Is he thinking they're taking the field goal shot, or they're going for it?
So that's the thing, right? So we always talk about this through the lens of the offensive team, and we say, you don't want to be the team choosing to kick a field goal to go up 6. But inversely, you want, as a defensive team, you're like, okay, go ahead, kick the long field goal. If you don't get it, fine, we're still down just 3. But if you get it, all right, we're going to go score the game-winning touchdown. I don't know if the Rams are kicking it or not.
Right.
I don't know what it is. But if they decline it, there's a chance they just kick the field goal. And then to the Rams' credit, they have a 4th and 5, and they go for it. And they convert it, and it eventually leads to a touchdown. Stafford hits Puka for the touchdown to go up 9 with under 2 minutes left. So that game management, we always talk about aggressiveness, and so it's that plus execution, right? They made the right decision to go for it on 4th and 5, and then they executed it, and then eventually score the touchdown to go up 9. That decision's massive for Sean McVay in this whole situation.
So it's exactly like the Dan Campbell game right at the start, Thursday night. Same idea, right? Instead of you go for a 4th and not insignificant yardage to try and keep the drive alive, to win it on your terms, rather than kick the field goal and go up by 6, which we've determined is a perilous thing to be doing in the first place. They go for it, they get it, they end up getting the touchdown. And Dan Campbell's sort of logic was, we want to win this game with our offense out on the field because our defense is banged up. It's a mash unit. That's better for us. From the Rams, I think the idea was kind of similar. We want to win this on offense because we have 475 yards and they can't stop us, versus defense where Josh Allen is currently unstoppable. So again, I think the smart thing is, whatever the data is telling you, also the ancillary parts, the ephemera in the game is also telling you, go, because that's where you're stronger. So huge thing for them to go for it. By the way, the other element of that, massive missed call for a false start on that play. Right tackle jumped early on that play.
On the 4th and 5?
Undeniably so.
Oh, I didn't see that play.
And they did not flag it.
And the last thing was the touchdown, again, I mentioned earlier, almost identical to what the Bucs and Raiders had. Bucs were up a score, Rams were up a score. Bills had to make a play. They go all-out blitz, and the answer is the jailbreak screen, and it broke. And it was wide open for Puka to just walk in. Well executed, same call from the same scheme from Sean McVay and from Liam Cohen in a very similar situation. Thought that was ironic. And there was not enough time in between games for them to copy. It's not like Sean McVay is like, oh, when that,
right.
when that comes up,
decided to run.
They were just both, doing the same thing. So 9-point lead. Bills still have a shot. They drive down, the pass interference penalties, and all these things get them.
Well, so you're, immediately, again, decision-making, right? You're 9 points. You need to score twice. You're a couple of minutes left. You're in this situation of, do we just kick a field goal as soon as we get even remotely in range because you need 2 scores anyway? So take the first one as soon as you get there and then try and get the touchdown afterwards. Because it's pass interference, they start getting bailed out. They start getting pass interference penalties, which moves them down the field into much more touchdown-y type of range. So they stay on the field, try to get the touchdown. They get set up at the 1-yard line.
There was including a 4th and 15 from the 50.
Yeah.
That had this was the first one that you're bringing up, a 34-yard pass interference penalty. That sets you up at the 16. So that's your first decision. Do you just kick the field goal with 1:18 left? And the Bills have all 3 timeouts.
Yep.
So as soon as you get the score, you kick it off, you make a stop, and you get the ball back with enough time left to do some damage. So they decide to go for the score. They get another pass interference. They get the ball set up at the 1.
Yep.
1st and goal from the 1 with 1:06 left.
Yes.
And then what happens?
They decide to go QB sneak to try and score and do not get it.
If you get it, fine. Good play call.
Yeah,
I mean, good result.
Yes, good result.
As soon as they don't get it, they call timeout. And immediately the whole game switches.
Yes.
Because you don't have the ability to stop the clock now. Once you kick it back, you're going to have to lean on an onside kick. Once
so
you get the score.
And this is a difficult thing to be doing. Like it's easy hours after the fact, having had time to think about it. Everything's happening here in split seconds, albeit with practice and preparation of these situations, right?
Brady talked about it. I mean,
Agreed.
It's pretty easy to see at the time. You have first and goal from the 1, chuck it in the end zone, and that's it.
Okay, that part's easy, right?
That part is.
There's a series of decisions, and this is why it's interesting. Number 1, they make the call, and they said this, right? We decide now, who made the call? This is another thing. Like Sean McDermott says, look, we decided to go with our best play. Our best play is Josh Allen from the 1-yard line. Again, that's a reasonable point to make, right? Josh Allen is generally unstoppable in these situations. I can see an argument that their best play to punch in 1 yard is Josh Allen, let him go do it. Now, he doesn't, and that creates a problem. So Tom Brady's point on the broadcast is you just keep throwing because that stops the clock and you're not risking the clock running because timeouts are everything. At this point, with 3 timeouts, you don't need to onside kick. You can actually get the ball back without the onside. You can just call timeouts, and as long as your defense stops, you get it back. You don't need to successfully recover an onside kick, which, as we know, is an incredibly unlikely thing to do in today's NFL, right? So that's the critical element here. By throwing it, you don't risk your timeouts, and you can get the ball back without the onside. As soon as you have to burn a timeout, you now need the onside kick. Otherwise, you're basically not getting the ball back, right? Yep. So that was the decision. They run the ball. By not scoring, they burn a timeout, and that was Brady's point was you should have just been throwing in the end zone. Running the ball was a mistake, right? But that was the first decision, right? We go with our best play, but our best play is the one that has the most risk if we don't get it. Once you've done that, the second decision is, do we call the timeout or do we
hurry up? And
do we just try do it again?
At that point, yes, because the ability to kick it deep is more important.
So you have 3 options at that point. He said after the game, we had 2 options and they both stank, which is true, but one of them is worse than the other ones, which is the problem. So decision number 1, run pass. We decide to run. That has the most risk. It failed. Decision number 2, 3 options now. Call a timeout quickly, save the time. But you just burn the timeout, and that's the most important thing you have right now. Mistake. Option number 2, hurry up, do it again, sneak in, get in. It's not great, but it's okay. We just burned some more time. We lost 10 more seconds, and that could come back to haunt us, but at least we're still alive.
Yeah.
Option 3, spike the damn ball. It was only first down that you failed on. Quick spike, and now the clock stopped, and you can talk about it.
A spike would have been way better than the.
So they had 3 options, and they went with the worst
also
one.
Gives you you could always kick a field goal if you need to.
Right.
The touchdowns. Once I get inside the 2, though, I'm going for that touchdown.
Sure.
And then potentially set up the long field goal.
So they made the decision, right, and to run the QB sneak because they thought that was their best play. At least that's the party line after the game. It might not have been the decision that Sean McDermott might have made, and he's just covering for the guy that made it, but whatever. The decision was made to run the ball instead of pass the ball. It failed. At that point, in the space of 5 seconds, they had to come up with which is the best of 3 options. In their brains, there were only 2 options. And either way, they came up with the worst option of the 3.
They did.
And that ends up giving them essentially no chance to win the game from that point.
And then the game management actually gets a little bit worse. So you get the touchdown to get within 2. By the way, there was a missed field goal that even made it a 2-point game instead of a 3-point game. I missed extra point.
Right.
That was even, could have been big. Wasn't. Onside kick. Rams get it. The Bills make the 3 stops, and now we get to the last play of the game. It's 4th and 2. The Rams have this decision to make. 7 seconds left. You see this a lot. When there's about 5 seconds left, you give it to the quarterback. He rolls out, throws it as high as he wants, lands out of bounds. Game's over. It's probably too much time for that. Rams decide to punt.
Yep.
And so for the goal here is clock starts as soon as the punt. Yeah, a hang time on the punt's about 4+ seconds, right? You're probably going to end the game as long as you punt it and it lands in bounds. And the Bills have 9 players on the field to start.
That's not great.
They end up with 10. The ball bounces in the end zone. The time runs out. There's no return.
Yeah.
Because at that point, the Bills' only hope is the punt goes out of bounds and it leaves you 3 seconds to, do pitchy woo-woo. Or you have to return it and pitchy woo-woo and do something. And they did none of that.
Yeah. I mean, at that point,
the game's pretty much over at that point.
I'm kind of done.
I'm just saying that's still it's just the preparation, man, in the last 2 minutes.
Oh, having 9 guys on the field is a complete and total breakdown. And this is that's it. I have sympathy with the other stuff. That stuff's just an egregious mistake that somebody is responsible for, and that's bad. But it's also the point where the damage has been done at that stage. You're not winning the game from there. It's going to take an all-time miracle to win it from there. The issue is the earlier stuff, and this is why I'm saying though, it's easy to do after the fact when you've got hours to think about it. You're like, okay, here's the breakdown. Here's what. Even Brady immediately, as you said, was on top of that. And oh no, that's a big mistake. The sneak. They didn't get it. Now now you got to burn a timeout. Now, even Brady's never thinking about what if we just spiked it or what if we hurried up and did it again. Brady's thinking you have to burn a timeout now. That's why it was a mistake. So even Brady didn't get to the other 2 options, and it's we could fix the mistake. There's still a way out of this. And he's got to do that in 5 seconds.
What's the football? You talk about confidence and all that stuff. If you're in the huddle, it's our best play. We're going to get into the end zone. Do you even bring up the negative? There's a lot of positive talk people. If our QB sneak gets stopped, here's the next option, right? Because a lot of people don't like speaking negatively, but you have to know what the plan is if things fail. So I thought the Bills offense was outstanding. I thought Allen played a great game. Unbelievable duel between him and Stafford.
Yeah.
But some game management gaffes at the end. And credit to the Rams, I think, for the proper game management. The reason why they didn't just want to kick a field goal is exactly this. The Bills drove down and got into the end zone. They would have lost. They would have lost this game if they weren't aggressive and executed that 4th and 5 that set up the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great contrast, right, in 2 difficult decisions to make on the fly. Okay, the Rams had a bit more time to think about it than the Bills did, but they make the aggressive decision to go for it in a difficult situation. And actually, even then, things kind of broke the Bills' way at that point. Later in that drive, they got them to 3rd and 5. And okay, 3rd and 5, ideally, you want to stop them on 3rd and 5. But in the context of this game where they couldn't ever stop the Rams, the next best thing was to actually give up the touchdown on that play, as opposed to, the worst thing that could have happened to the Bills is on 3rd and 5, Puka Nacua picks up 6 yards. And now you're never getting the ball back at that point, right?
And that's why they went all out blitz to just
Yeah, so they went crazy. They blitzed him to try and stop it on third down. Rams had an answer again. Puka Nacua goes in for a touchdown, and at least the Bills are getting the ball to have a shot at coming back, right? Down 2 scores. But they get the ball back. So the Rams made a couple of good decisions. They got the score. They go ahead, and then Buffalo does everything right up until the point where they make the call. And even if they thought about this, they made the call to run, didn't get it, and then 5 seconds and an incorrect decision cost them the game.
Yep.
Or at least the chance to win the game.
So big swings here. Buffalo essentially falls 2 games behind with the Chiefs win, gives for the number 1 overall seed. Now tied with the Steelers with the 10-3 record. So it gives the Chiefs some breathing room for the number 1 overall seed, and the Rams stay 1 game behind the next team we're going to talk about, the Seattle Seahawks.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.